token. Hello, welcome to Jesus TV. This is how, this Jesus TV program is called How to Build My Jesus World. And so that's what both Anson and I are doing with Jesus. It's like a kit that he gave us for Christmas. And it's a big old kit that has a whole world in it. So we're practicing probably for a different time when he goes, okay, now let's go up here in these stars and let's do this. You guys did that back on Earth. So we'll get our own world. But right now, this is the one we practice with. It's called Our Life. But it's conceived of as a world. And on that world, both Anson and I, Jesus gave us a television station. And it's kind of like Mr. Rogers. Jesus gave him a television station that he could broadcast his stuff from. And so Anson Everett, Jesus had him join us. And then before I knew he was going to be coming on, Anson, after I knew you were coming on, Jesus told me to write a script. So we'll follow a script, but we'll do some improv. So
wait, I'm going to leave my clothes on, but I'm taking off this top layer because it's too hot in my dad's room.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is not a Speedo event, so it's not super R-rated. It's probably just R-rated. Yeah. Anson, I'm going to let you know that when I go and I'm talking through the script, I can't see you or your reaction, so you'll have to stop me verbally and say, Greg, I want to say something there, because I'm going to read Jesus's script. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to go over to the script and we'll just start out that way.
Okay.
What we're going to show you is essentially, in fact, well, this is like a JFT, a Jesus fungible token. And it's kind of like, if you, I'm not going to go deep into world building because I'm assuming people watch the episodes, but really what we're doing is Jesus said, you want to know how to put an Anson in your world, Greg? And I think, yeah, show me how. A Jesus Anson, that's the best kind. Like, okay, yeah. So that's what we're doing. Think of it like a download, that if Jesus said, hey, do you want to put an Anson on your phone? And they go like, really? Why would that be a good thing? I've got a calculator and I've got a camera, but why would I want an Anson on there? Well, I already know the answer to that, and maybe that'll be answered as we go along here. But you don't want just any Anson, you want a red Anson, and that'll introduce. We will start the episode with an opening prayer, also known as a prayer song, Paint It Red, which will introduce the theme of the episode. So now is the part where I'm going to push on the phone, this Jesus phone I have that Jesus gave me. It's not the Jesus Street Preaching phone, but it's the Jesus Play Song phone. And this is a song that Jesus wrote with the Rolling Stones. And it was in preparation for today's episode, because you'll see that this is going to be a theme song for a new Jesus television program, which I'll describe later. But Paint It Black is what it used to be called, and then Jesus baptized it. He put a lot of red on it. And here we go. Just a second. I see a black door and I want to paint it red. Always I want more Jesus, to him me led. I see with my blue eyes a messed up world grown cold.
It needs to turn red
to make my darkness go. I see a line of bars and they're all painted black. The carnal kind of love is the devil's shack. I've seen people turn their heads and quickly go their way. But a newborn Jesus culture being birthed
today.
today. I look inside myself, I see my heart needs fed. I see my black door, I must have it painted red. Only then I'll find my way, I'll finally face the facts. It's not easy facing up when your whole world is black. So every day I'll reach, I'll turn to Jesus, you. I could not foresee this thing happening, it's true. If I look hard enough and believe you are the one, your love will grow in me until you, Jesus, come. I see a black door and I wanna paint it red. Always I want more Jesus, to him be me led. I see with my new eyes a messed up world grown cold. It needs to turn to red to make the darkness go. I want to see it painted. Oh yeah, I want to see it painted red. And then it goes jamming. We'll just let that be. Yeah, so glad you I'm glad you joined, but then fell off as well, so that they could hear the lyrics. So there's this song that Jesus baptized, and which means he enriched it with more Jesus. You'll notice that it has that, and of course, red is the topic. So let's go back to the script. Jesus says it's all in the script, Greg. Okay. This Jesus TV program, How to Build My Jesus World, is being made in a place Jesus calls early Zion. Have you ever heard of that? Well, maybe you've heard of Zion or the kingdom of God. We're in the early stage. This is one of the many Jesus TV stations that Jesus is now building throughout the world, the one that we're broadcasting from. This is being broadcast from my Jesus Greg world, and it's also broadcast from Anson's Jesus Anson world. We're here with Anson Everett, who, like me, is building a full-on real Jesus TV station in his Jesus Anson world in the Jesus verse. Anson, tell us how it's going with Jesus and Jesus TV, the one he's installing in your Jesus world.
How is my Jesus Anson world going?
How's your television station that you're building with Jesus? He had a kit called Jesus TV station, and you're installing it. I've seen it because I've seen episodes. He had you do Speedo episodes on Jesus TV. He's had you do piano episodes. So tell us about that. How's it going as you guys, because how you build Jesus TV is what we're doing, and make episodes, and then they're broadcast on various methods. But how's that going, building of the station?
It's beautiful. It's very much like a mud pie
Yes.
right now.
Yes, Wild West. Yes, it is.
Jesus radio station mud pie version.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with that. I don't necessarily love numbers and episodes, having to know numbers specifically. And so far he's just been saying, hey, it's mud. There's the mud. Take it.
Yeah.
And put it on you. And now let's do an episode. There's no number, Lord. He says, it's okay. We're going to do an episode. Why? I usually say, why? Is it because I want to be famous or I want attention? He says, there's that. But also in your heart, Anson, you want to praise me. You want to show how awesome I am. And you want to glorify me. You've had enough limelight. And I really have. As a clog dancer, as a person playing guitar or piano or viola or whatever it is, I've had enough limelight. I've had enough Jesus, but I need more Jesus light.
Yeah.
And this is how he's giving it to me today. He says, you can continue to make a fool of yourself, Anson, as you did in years past. dressing up and acting out and whatever for people's entertainment. But now let's do it. Let's work on doing it for the sake of heaven, for the sake of um, peace, love, and understanding, for the sake of world peace, Jesus love, all the things that I have in my heart, but they're hard to manifest sometimes because of where I've grown up and whatnot. So yeah, it's an awesome radio station. I'm happy with it the way it is, and so is Jesus. And he's telling me I'm he's excited to help me make improvements on it.
Nice. Well, yeah, and you heard Anson talk about it like a radio station. Well, Anson has both. He has a radio station and a TV station. And here's the thing that Jesus does that's very kind. So it's easy to get arrogant, but when you are brought low, it's not easy because you're not looking at everybody and say, "Oh, you guys are all envious of me." The truth is, Anson, I don't have people clamoring, say, "How can I get on your television station?" It's not like they're in the presence of Donny Osmond. Come up on the stage. They don't want any of that. And so Anson's kind of aware of that too. That this is kind of a low version of TV, but because it's Jesus TV, we can still get prideful, like, "Oh, I'm on TV and it sounds so good. Jesus, you let me have a TV station?" And it's not mine, it's Jesus's, but he goes, yeah, you can plug it in and I'll help you do it. So that's what Anson's talking about. When you look at Anson, you don't go, what's that dude talking about, worrying about he's going to become arrogant? There's nothing to be arrogant about. But anybody knows that when you're in kindergarten, you can start thinking your shoes are better than everybody else's. Oh yeah, my shoes are the best. Watch how fast I can run. And so Anson's very sensitive to that, because both Anson and I, we have to admit it, because Jesus tells us we have to. We're both dirty, very dirty, filthy, yes, filthy, rotten. Anson's rotten. I know I'm rotten. Hard-hearted. Jesus doesn't let up. I mean, it's dirty, filthy, rotten, hard-hearted. But then here's the part we like best, when he says, hopeful sinners. So he didn't end with hopeful, awesome people. He said sinners. But guess what Jesus likes? Sinners like us. Yeah, he loves everybody, but he makes a big deal of sinners, has breakfast with them, wakes up with them. Anson and I can testify that. So don't be envious of us. I don't want the world to be crying, "I wish I had a Jesus television station." You can have one, okay? Just go ask Jesus, he'll give you one. Right, Anson? That's how we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to learn about how to do a Jesus television station by us. So he said, just turn on the camera. So we're using Zoom. And so then you just say, "Jesus, what should I talk about?" And let's go on, because I do talk about Anson's methods when he's on Jesus television station. Anson, okay. Well, we now want to introduce the name of this episode, which was hinted at by the opening prayer, that Anson and I prayed together. Then I took over the rest of the prayer. Thank you, Jesus. This episode is called Paint Anson Red. So it's a very personal thing. And we're going to paint Anson red. What you're going to see is this is part of the process of painting Anson red. And you'll understand in a moment what that's about. How are we going to paint him? Yeah, I've got a spray can in here and in my heart, and it's red. And I'm going to paint him. I already did, but I'm going to do it for demonstration purposes. So that's where we're going. All right. Okay, where am I? Right here, Lord. Thank you. This says, Greg, do improv. What led up to this episode? Oh, okay. So you get the backstory. So when I was born again in 2015, Jesus said, you're going to build this personal electronic universe thing. And I didn't fully understand what it is, but I did. I was excited because I so I get my own thing, like a universe. And then that got called all kinds of different names over the years. Finally, he says, okay, and it's also called a world, and it's called the Jesus Greg world. And then he said that you are going to be, you're going to develop the underlying architectural engineering and design patterns, and they are going to be, lo and behold, musical. So you notice that our prayer song was a song, and Jesus started giving me a bunch of songs that are for the radio station. Like I assume, okay, well, I got a radio station. What are we going to do? Well, it's like a podcast. So right now we're simulcast on the television stations, Jesus Anson television station, Jesus Greg television station, simulcast on Jesus Anson radio station, simulcast on Jesus Greg radio station. So that's what you're listening to now. And go back to the script. And so the radio station, I was excited. Jesus said, hey, I've got 2,000 prayer songs, which are hymns. I've got them up here and I baptized them. They're Christians. They become Jesus enriched and they're classic rock. Are you interested? Like, yeah. And he says, well, then listen carefully. And then he starts sending down one at a time. And I would hear these and I'd write them down, and then sing them with him. And Anson, that's when Anson and I first became friends. Anson heard some of those songs and he knew that was Jesus who had written those, like I do, and they had messages in them, and we were already kind of pre-recorded for those because Jesus introduced them early, and he's like, okay, you like those songs? We do. Okay, well, because those are lovely, aren't they? Oh yeah, that's a great lovely song by Aerosmith or by April Wine, Just Between You and Me. And I used to sing songs like Just Between You and Me. What did it make you think of? Jesus? No, a girl. Which girl? I don't know, just a girl that maybe I'd meet someday. Always I know our love will be. And then Jesus said, hey, you know who you're supposed to love with all your might, mind, and strength? A girl from high school? No. A girl from college? No. You're supposed to love me first. And like, oh, with all my might, mind, and strength. Well, I've been practicing loving girls, and I'm hoping there'll be a certain one. And he said, here's the song, Greg. Just between you and me, Jesus, I know our love will be. So he had me start singing like some romantic song to Jesus. And the other day, Jesus had me post to Facebook this question. Is Jesus romantic? And I'm like, that's kind of weird, Jesus, but like, okay, I'll do it because I just pretty much do whatever he says. If he was a bad person, I'd be totally bad because he'll tell me to do something. He's like a peer, like, oh, I've got this guy and I just do whatever he says. It's like peer pressure, but it's because I like him so much. So I totally get peer pressure, how it works. If you like somebody, some guy or girl or whatever, and then they say, hey, drink this, and you do just because you like them and you want to be liked by them. And so that's where Jesus has me. And so I did it. And I said, and then of course the answer was obvious, because Jesus is anything that's lovely, good report, or praiseworthy. Well, I think romance has been well established to be a good thing. And then there's, of course, Jesus romance version, and then there's the world's version. And one leads to illicit sex and babies that shouldn't be coming to earth, I suppose, or whatever. And the other leads to joy and happiness. And so, but Jesus is nice. He lets us taste whatever fruit. So that was a long rabbit hole to say, he gave me a bunch of songs, all right, which we sang one just now, and he'll talk to me in these songs, which is what he did. So I'm telling you the backstory. How did we come to paint Anson Red? All right. So eventually we're going to get these 2,000 baptized songs to put in our Jesus radios, and they'll be classic rock. So I guess he's got more. Maybe there'll be a country. Somebody's called. I'm called to do the classic rock downloads. But I found out that Jesus plans to use these songs for so much more than just singing. All right. Today he's introducing something I've been waiting for many years. Do you know what it is? People. People. Because he brought these songs down. Here's the thing. And he started people like Anson. Yes. So he brought these songs down and he's been connecting them. So it's like this puzzle. Okay. So you get up Christmas morning and you got 100 right now, 115 songs, but they're in the shape of a puzzle piece. You're like, oh, I know this plugs in somewhere. So it's like a plug. And he's been plugging them into my morning. When I wake up, he goes, you know what this one's for? And he goes, no, yeah, it wasn't for cocaine. Nope. It was, or it wasn't to plug the nose. It was to plug into my morning routine. And so, and this one's not a classic rock one, but it's a classic. Jesus, the very thought of thee. And then a second song that I sang this morning, I sang the morning before, I sang the morning before that, and I sang the morning before that. And I just keep singing them every morning, and I'll sing it tomorrow morning. Jesus, the very thought of thee, that plugs into my morning. So imagine your morning's this thing that's like looks like a female thing, and the male thing is like oh, there we go. And the male thing is like the song. You're like, this plugs right in here, like that. And then it lights me up, like, oh, turn on the lights. So think of Christmas lights when I wake up. So it's kind of like coffee. Some people say, plug that juice right there, that brown juice, into this hole, and it'll do wonderful, magical things. And so they plug that in. So it's like a download. Well, you can do the same thing with certain songs that you brew up with Jesus. And so that's what he's been doing. And he gets, he helps me get better and better at brewing these songs. And then they connect with events in my life. The songs do. Okay. And so I'm connecting events with songs. I'm connecting a radio station like TV with songs. These are Jesus songs. So these are Jesus connections. A Jesus radio station is connected with a Jesus song. Songs aren't the only thing we do on the radio. We also do simulcast, like things we're doing right now. But these connections, well, what I've always known back in the echo is like, and there's going to come a day, Greg, when we'll make the most important connection between these songs and the most important thing on earth, okay, other than Jesus, which is human beings, other human beings, people. And so the other day, I was talking to him about this, and he had me start going through the songs. I started with song 0, and he said, I want you to connect that to what I have you doing out there, yard sale, the Jesus yard sale. So he connected the Jesus yard sale or the Jesus marketplace to a song 0, which is the Led Zeppelin song Stairway to Heaven, but it's been reborn, which is more Jesus here. And I started singing that, and it connected really well. And so anytime that I do my yard sale or think about my yard sale, and it's not just an event like that, but he also connected it to a place on my property. So he'll find location. And what he started teaching me is when you build your own world with Jesus, you'll do like the nouns. You'll connect things with people, places, and things. That's what a noun is. People, places, and things. And so what I've just described is places and things, a song connected with another thing, which is selling stuff. I just sold something today, a chair, a Jesus chair. I didn't sing a song there, but I probably should sing a song every time I sell that. That'd be making a connection. All right. So what was missing in this puzzle? Okay. When he started connecting these, I'll tell you, he started having me go through the songs. So I went through song number 1, because that was song 0. Then number 1, Still They Ride. And there wasn't anything he told me to do there. Then I went to the next song, which was the John Lennon song, which is a baptized version of Imagine. Imagine all the people living Jesus' way. You may say I'm a dreamer. And so I was like, okay, what plug-in? What do you want me to plug that in? Because see, what he told me when I got born again, he said, you're going to have a musical universe. And so that's why I'm song focused, because he talks to me through songs. It's not the only thing he talks to me through, but it's one of the things in terms of building. So that's why I'm taking the songs. He's, he could take other things in my life, which he does, like, okay, all your meals, everything you eat, let's connect those to Jesus. All right. And so he's been doing that. But one of the principal things he does is he'll connect songs to the other things. And it's so I got up the other morning, was doing my Jesus routine, and he interrupted my singing because he was singing with me. So it just means he stopped singing and I stopped singing. And he goes, songs, Greg, and people. Like, okay, so because when I'd sang that Imagine song, I was like, oh, is it this person? Because I thought of, how is this song connected to a person? That's, and because he said, think about it. What does that song by John Lennon remind you of? John Lennon and Jesus. And I didn't have it. But this is why we paint Anson Red today, because guess who he took me to? Not my wife. Okay, she's connected to a song. That was yesterday. Jesus told me the song. So he's going to tell me all these different songs, including hymns, and they're going to be associated with a person, one person. I think, like, this song forever will be related to Anson Everett. And he told me what it was, the song. And so that's called Making Jesus Connections. Yeah, we're gonna cover that here in just a second. All right. Jesus, okay, today he's introducing the connection. So I wanted to celebrate that work is now underway. I've got the green light. He's going to start plugging this in, and it's going to be so fun because you'll see what Anson's not just connected to this song. There's some other connections, and we'll talk about that. But I wanted to give you the overall scope of what's going on here. So we're going to connect Anson to a song, but we're using a parable that I want you to understand. Paint it red. So I've got to come back to this. One of the things we are on Jesus TV is we're long suffering and patient. So if it takes us a while to get somewhere, we're okay with that. It's kind of like listening to conference when they say, I have 4 points, and they get through the 4 points, and then they say, no, there's 3 different ways this is done. You thought they were done. No, they just got through the 4 points, and then they got three ways you're going to do these points. Like, oh, wow. And then by the time they got to the 3rd point, they say, now there's 2 other things. You look, 3, 2, 1. Are we ever? Is this talk ever going to end? Of course, if you're liking it, then you like keep it going on. Well, that could be like Jesus TV. And so Anson may be like, okay, I thought we're done here. I saw you getting up. Yeah, I got to get my Jesus pillow so I can sleep while Greg talks. I totally get it.
Just giving a hug to my nephew.
Oh, good. Hugs are good.
Bye, Hazen. Bye, Hazen.
All right. So here we go. So obviously you can see that Paint Anson Red is drawing upon a parable of paint. And so I'm going to trust that you've watched episode 5, where I took paint. It wasn't a spray can, and I painted a fence post white. That's in the location that song 0 is. And after I painted that white, I got in trouble from my wife. What right do you have to paint that white? That's the family's. And that's what Jesus wanted her to do. Do you know why? Anson, do you know why he wanted her to do that?
So you can learn how to love her with Jesus' love.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll remember it more. See, sometimes you got to have fights. So you go like, oh my goodness. Oh, you're getting another hug. Look at that.
My sister, Emily.
Yep, this is PG rated. Yeah,
Yay!
good. Hello there. All right. Yeah, there's one of Jesus's friends with long hair. I like that.
See you, Anson.
Bye. Love you.
Love you. See you, Greg. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And so I was literally painting that post red. You said, I mean, white. And so you say, well, why didn't you paint it red? I thought you want to paint everything red. Right. Red is a parable, and it's one that you would easily detect as a Christian. what do we drink when we take sacrament? We're drinking an approximation of something that is red. What is that, Anson? I'm being a Sunday school teacher, asking the questions that are obvious, so I won't do that. Blood, Jesus's blood. Did you get some Jesus blood today?
Blood. I did not. I have not partaken of the sacrament for a while.
Okay, that's right. Anson is in the abstinence program, but he's taking lots of Jesus's blood in other ways. So there's many different kinds of blood, but it's Jesus' blood we're interested in because that protects us from sin. It washes away our sins. And okay, let's go back to Jesus says, go back to the song because it's in the song. So here we go. Oh, and that was all about being patient because I was going to go back to the song, but some people needed to be patient. So sometimes Jesus will do that because I think he wants to get the other people off the station. I don't want them watching this. This is not appropriate for this Christian. And so they'll leave. They're like, this is boring. The guy says he's going to do something. He doesn't do it. And it's like Mr. Rogers say he's going to introduce something. And you're like, when are we going to get to King Friday? I don't have time for this crap. And then you leave. And then King Friday comes on just as you leave. And you're like, oh, I missed the favorite part. Yeah. So that's what this is like. All right, here we go. Paint It Red. This is actually, this song, Jesus started it with two scriptures that I didn't read because we just went right to the song, right to prayer. Here's the two scriptures that are related to this. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper doorpost of the houses wherein they shall eat. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Exodus 12:7. Did you get that? And they shall take the blood and strike it on the two side posts. And of course, that was the Israelites, so they could be protected. Jesus's blood has a protection power. And so when I say I want to paint Anson red, you'll come to understand, oh, we're talking about blood. Right, we're talking about a parable of blood. And so I just imagine a spray can Jesus gave me and say, paint Anson red. Now, he doesn't want me to take a literal spray can, not that I know of, and spray Anson red. He just wants me to do that in my head as a parable. And now you know what the parable is about. Second verse. This one's from Corinthians. Who hath delivered us from the power of darkness and hath translated us into the kingdom? I like that. Today, Jesus said, you ever heard of Beam Me Up, Scotty, Greg? Yeah. Well, Beam Me Up is like translated us into the kingdom. And so Jesus is showing me technology that allows me to enter his kingdom, or a kingdom approximation, which is where we're at right now. An approximation of his kingdom is Jesus TV. You're going to have a hard time going to the internet and finding another Jesus TV because this is part of his kingdom. But someday soon you won't be able to. I mean, well, he has lots of television stations, The Chosen, you can do that. Okay, translate us into the kingdom of his dear son, in whom we have, here we come, redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins. All right. So now, because Jesus tells me to, I got to read the whole lyrics without singing it so people could actually hear that. So here we go. Is that okay with you, Anson?
Yeah, let me grab my sheet. I want to read too.
Okay.
Go for it.
Oh, can you read it? If you got the sheet, that allows me to pass the talking stick. Yeah, read the lyrics and
okay.
And talk about them too. I like hearing them. These are Jesus lyrics.
It's funny that I heard this song originally when it was a red door. I'm going to paint it black. And here we are reversing it. Well, we're fixing it. No, Jesus is actually redeeming it. And it says, I see a black door and I want to paint it red. Always. I want more Jesus. To him be me led. I see with my new eyes a messed up world grown cold. Yeah. It needs to turn red to make the darkness go. So, yeah, it's also funny that recently this whole red thing has just got me in a flurry. Popeye turns red. in the eyes of Bluto when he's standing there with olive oil and a baby in his arms, and they're standing there together. Bluto looks at him and goes, and then apparently my friend thought I was turning red the other day when my father brought home another person 1/4 his age or whatever, and I was getting kind of mad, and I wanted to tear down all the drywall in the house, just only the ceilings. So I called my friend for some drywall advice, and he said, no, don't tear down all the ceilings in your house. Don't tear all the drywall down from all your ceilings. And he envisioned me in the living room there with a giant hole and a man in red, not Jesus, and a fiery hole in the middle of the white carpet in my dad's living room, and a red man standing next to me, a red being, saying, "You ready to go, Anson? You ready to hop down this hole?"
Right. There you
Black
go.
hole. And so like there's that color, there's being red that way. But when we look at the song that Jesus has redeemed, it says the messed up world grown cold, that's our whole world, needs to turn red to make the darkness go. I know that's not the whole world deciding to get real mad together.
No, it's to get that protection that the Hebrews wanted. It protects. It's the light of Christ approximation. Yeah,
Protects us from anger and fear and resentment and hatred and all the things we've been learning down here.
Yep.
That
Black things. Yeah. So that song is using black, kind of like it's been used throughout history: darkness, the absence of light, and so forth. And so, what color you think? Well, let's paint it white. But the red is an emphasis on his blood, which is what he wants to emphasize to us. He shed his blood for us. And so when I say I want to paint Anson red, this is a spoiler alert. I want to see him as Jesus. And so in the script, you'll see that. We need to paint everybody as our brother and sister, paint them in a Jesus-y way. And so in this parable, anyways, there's different parables because, yeah, you could portray red as a symbol of the devil. And that's fine if that's where Jesus leads you to. But in this episode, he's actually choosing a color that will be used in my Jesus Greg world to represent, like when I took the sacrament today, I looked at the white water, you know, the clear water, the Jesus living waters, and I thought of the red. And of course, I was thinking of him, his blood that was shed, because when I cut my hand, like it comes out red, not devil red, but it comes out Jesus red. Like, oh, look, he's keeping me alive. Let's cap this off so I don't lose all this red.
And I want to see Anson the way Jesus sees him too, because just as a FYI, I struggle a lot, as many others do, to even wonder, well, what the heck am I? You know, am I just a bunch of dirt? What am I? What am I? It's like on Popeye, and I do struggle, but this is a place where I'm wanting to go, is to see me in red. Jesus is red, and understand what that means.
Yeah, and so this song, Jesus gave it to us, gave it to me at very least, to reinforce what he wants. And this is the first time he really used that strongly. After it was written, I wrote down what Jesus was telling me, and then it just sat there on the shelf. I liked it, and I kind of saw where he's going, but it's when he started connecting what I was doing, because he has me paint a lot of things, like write on, he'll use my hand to write on my shirts. Jesus is bossing this job, so my Sunday shirts get repurposed. They become handyman shirts that have Jesus writing on them. But he has me doing a lot of painting, and now it makes sense that I'm changing my world. So if you look at painting as a parable, and this is what this song does, is that you can change things like really quick. If you give me a gallon of paint, I can turn a white table into a blue table or red paint, and it transforms what what it evokes. You know, a white table now becomes baby blue, and sometimes that's what you want to see. And so painting is a good parable because it's visceral. It's and it gives kind of a tone or quality to things. That's what people look for, and interior designers do. And so it's like one of the first times he's used color too. So when I say he's doing people, he's starting to do people. I think he's starting to do colors now because he's done sound like songs. So all these different elements we appreciate and that move us emotionally, because his intention is for me to love him with all my heart, might, mind, and strength, but he's having to work with a dirty, filthy, rotten, hard, hopeful sinner. So he has to work with all these different things. I have to work with all these different things to convince myself or to entice myself to love Jesus. And so this song, like all the Jesus songs, traditional hymns, is meant to reinforce and it does. It helps me think of Jesus. Here we are talking of Jesus. That's all we've been talking about. But we're talking about Jesus and paint and Jesus and blood and Jesus and the sacrament, Jesus and Jesus TV. It's like, can't you guys talk about anything but Jesus? No, I said Jesus TV. We're talking about TV. So now you're starting to have connections between things that are familiar in the world, because we're not the only ones in the world talking about TV. Some people say, you know what's on TV? The Kardashians have some new episodes. Woo! And they can get excited about that. Paint it nude or semi-nude or whatever. Paint it Kardashian. And that can be very exciting, the lower kingdoms. But Jesus doesn't really say, oh, you're missing the Kardashians' new thing. I haven't seen any of those episodes, but I love them because they're my sisters, the ones that are on there. I kind of feel sorry for them, but I also think, wow, they're really pretty. But it needs to be painted red for me. Like,
I
hey,
love red. I've envisioned myself literally. Sorry if this grosses anyone out, but literally covered in Jesus's blood.
yes.
The past, I think today I did a little bit. I envisioned myself as that, and then I was like, "Oh, that's kind of gross." Is there another way to turn to? And it's not gross though. It's beautiful. I mean, I'm happy with that kind of vision in my mind, being healed by being literally like covered, dipped in his blood. But then I also thought, okay, we'll turn to red. We're turning to what red? His blood. Where? In anywhere on the cross, in the garden, particularly in the garden. For some people who don't like the cross, Jesus could suggest, look, if you can't handle that, go to the garden. To me, I think that's even more painful looking. But apparently, he really bled a lot there too. But when I turn to the garden or go to the garden, what I get, if I stay there long enough, is that I understand all that suffering, all that pain, a lot of it caused by me, and yet in the midst of that immense suffering, what is the main thing? It's his great love. So we're turning to his blood, we're turning to his love.
Yeah, and I'll draw attention to the first song he did with Mick Jagger's company, the Rolling Stones. Okay, I see a red door and I want to paint it black. No more colors. I want it painted black. So he was basically, it's kind of like a depressed song. I don't want all these colors anymore. He was sad. And so all of us have felt like that sometimes. But this song has been converted. And so really what happened in my Jesus Greg world is familiar. I'm like, what? In my Jesus Greg world, Jesus, what do you smell like? And you know what he smells like in my Jesus Greg world? You're gonna like this, Anson, because we're gonna talk about this later in the episode. So don't do the spoiler. He smells like oranges. Little hint there, Anson. Oranges and Anson. It was a recent oranges and Anson incident that I will describe. But Jesus smells like oranges. And so the orange has come to represent what he smells like. And now he's color. And so oranges will be a theme. And I got oranges for Christmas. My mom and dad used to give me those. Like, hey, I want chocolate. I don't want oranges. Oranges, we get those every day. Hey, dude, it fills up your sock. Let's put some peanuts in there too. And that's okay. That's Christmas. And that's a little side note. But this is one of the things, and this way, because what is this television program about? It's ultimately to teach people how to hashtag hear Jesus. And I'm not qualified. You just need to hear him because he's talking to you. But building your own personal, custom fit Jesus world that he will help you build. He loves building these worlds. I've already seen it. Like, wow, he really likes these worlds. He likes to have you to be in your little world and build it the way that fits you. And you're like, oh, wow, you like classic rock. Oh, Jesus, I knew you did. And he's like, yeah, I do. I'm the one who created that song. Oh, you sang that with the Rolling Stones? Yeah, but here's a better version because you're on the path of ascension, Greg. So you get these newer versions. And so that is what these episodes are about, is that you would get an understanding and a glimpse at least one or two worlds that are being built and how it's being done. And world building, oh my goodness, I mean, look at our world. It's so complex. So some of these things might seem kind of complex. So we'll talk a little bit at the end how you can apply these principles, but this is being applied. The main thing is to not lose focus of the title. Paint Anson Red. And so what that says to my head is, think of Anson as Jesus. And you'll see that in the script. Go ahead. Let's go back to this song. If you have any comments, yeah, let's finish that song.
I see the next stanza. I see a line of bars and they're all painted black.
Oh yeah. What does that mean? It means something. If you're LDS, what does that mean? It means don't go to that bar. That's darkness. That's what, anyways, that's what it says. But Anson's a piano guy. We'll talk more about that too. So those bars, I see a line of bars. That could be the Blue Keys. But anyways, there's different ways you can.
Right. Well, yeah. When I think I witnessed this song when you and the Angels sang it, and I think you mentioned that. Oh, the barcodes.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Love of stuff.
Yeah, love of stuff. Good.
That's in the next line of the carnal kind of love. It is the devil's shack.
Yeah, and you know what that may remind me of? Love Shack, baby, Love Shack. The B-52s having a love shack. I always imagine they probably weren't married. They're surfers and they're going to go to the love shack. Love Shack, yeah. It's a teenage bopper song. And so Jesus has a love shack. Whoa, that seems how wholly inappropriate. No, this is good love. It's all G-rated and it's for general audiences. So he has a love shack. So that contrasts with the bars, because what are bars like? The drinking bars? They're love shack, baby. A lot of times lonely people go to the bars and they're trying to, in the words of Ronnie Millsap, do you know that song? I've been looking for love.
I was going to say, Wookin' Panub.
Looking for what?
Wookin' Panub in the way that
in all the wrong
Murphy
places.
Yeah.
Looking for love in too many faces. Yep, you got it. Okay, yep.
All right, next one. I've seen people turn their heads and quickly go that way, but a newborn Jesus culture is being birthed today. Today. I notice you said today after you said today.
Yep. And now it is called today until the coming of the Son of Man. So we're in today right now. That every day now we're building out an alternative world that we like to call Jesus land. Jesus likes to call it early Zion. It's also called the Jesus verse. What are you building there? Worlds without number, because Anson needs one special place that's just Anson and Jesus. Oh, this is like mansions. There are many mansions, right? Think of your world as a mansion. You're going to build a mansion. Well, I thought Jesus was going to build those. It's a kit, guys. When you die, you're going to go, what? I thought you had these all built. No, he said, I just cut them out because I like building things with you kids. And so then you'll just sit there and spend a long time putting your mansion together.
Yeah. Always
My mind.
known that it wasn't going to be just, here you go.
Here you go. Oh no. Yeah, you'll have to make some decisions. I didn't know how you wanted this. And of course, he'll be messing with you. You know everything. And so my Tom Petty mansion, I think he already knows what it's going to be like. But why would he put that together before he came? He'd be like, what are we going to do for eternity, Greg? We got lots of mansions. We need a Freddie Mercury mansion. That kid's over here. But which one do you want to work on first? Like my wife's mansion, because I wish you would have taken her first. Let's get that one, the Sabre mansion. And so then it'll have Sabre pictures on it and so forth. Not Tom Petty. That's the Tom Petty mansion. My wife may never even visit the Tom Petty mansion, just kind of looking. Yeah, I see. It's like a man cave. But I may be wrong about this. So I'm just like a little kid like Anson, and I don't know anything, but we believe a lot of things. And we're like Paul, believe all things. Like even that, yeah. But hold fast to it only if it makes you feel good. Oh, that's so that's that tree of life thing. So you taste the fruit. Oh no, that's Alma 32. You put it in your heart and you go like, ooh, that belief feels good to me. I feel a stirring motion. What are you excited about, Greg? That I get to have a mansion that's Tom Petty themed, and I get another mansion that is Freddie Mercury themed. I'm going to have so many mansions up there. And that tastes delicious to me. Therefore, it must be true. That's according to the scriptures, because, but what you know is that the word has swelled within your breasts. And so I know that feels good. So I'll get something like that. If I don't get exactly that, he goes, no, really, you only get one mansion. It's already pre-assembled. Get in there. Like, oh, okay, well, I was wrong about that. But this is cool in here. Then I go in there. Oh, this mansion has an infinite number of rooms. I didn't need more mansions. I was wrong. There's a Tom Petty room. See, it might be like that way. Hey guys, I'm just exploring the belief space here. That's what we do on Jesus TV. That's why it's R-rated. That general authorities probably shouldn't be watching this. If there's any general authorities from the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, you probably need to turn this off. It'll mess with your head because it's most of the stuff that Anson and I believe is probably not right or true. We're like Bruce R. McConkie or Brigham Young. Blacks are not going to receive the priesthood until the millennium. Whoops, we're wrong. And so we can be even wronger. I know Anson's going to be wronger than Bruce R. McConkie, and I know I'm going to. But we're all in kindergarten, so Anson and I understand that. Jesus comforts us and says, everybody's a kindergartner. Okay, you're all a bunch of idiots compared to Jesus. So you can go back to the song, Anson, if you want.
Yeah. I look inside myself and I see that my heart needs fed. I see my black door. I must have this. This is. I'm pretty sure Jesus likes hear me say this verse out loud. He knows I have one of the hardest hearts. Here I am, a guy who went on a mission to Japan, never killed anyone or shot anyone's kneecaps off, and into jail with someone who has, thinking I'm all better than him. And Lord's like, no. If you really want to know the truth, your heart is harder than his and blacker. But Lord, he shot someone kneecaps off. That my bunkmate is he must be blacker heart than me. Lord's like, no, I can see your heart. I can see both. Yours is worse.
Yeah. And so then Jesus says, would you like a spray can? Yeah.
He did tell me that, but he said, get red. He's like, it's okay to grab black. And then since we're going out to paint my van, grab the $9.98 can of pink sparkly heart paint. I'm like, my heart got black. And I said, that's $9.98, Lord. And he's like, you don't think I'm worth $9.98? Boy, you got a black heart, don't you? And I changed my mind. He changed my heart, and I was like, oh, I'll buy it. And we used it. That's great.
And it is good. And it's another thing that's going to tie me to Anson. But by the way, let's see. I like that that lyric right there. I look inside myself and I see my heart needs fed. Okay. And of course, what do I need fed? More Jesus. I see my black door. Okay. What is the black door? Well, that's what the heart is.
I
The
thought.
heart is the thing you can close to Jesus. Like, you know what? I got enough Jesus. I don't need any more Jesus. And so that's why most of our hearts, they have a color. It's like black. But it needs to be painted red.
Only
Okay.
then I'll find my way. And I'll finally face the facts. It's not easy facing up when your whole world is black.
Yeah.
So every day I'll turn to Jesus. You. I could not foresee this thing happening. It's true.
Yeah. And that captures, at least for me, my relationship with Jesus. I could not foresee what it's become. I mean, did I think I'll be on Jesus TV, programming some stuff for kids 500 years from now, whose parents say, hey, we're going to go out, we're going to go see the Jesus concert. And you kids just watch this television program. What is it? It's called Painted Red, paint Anson Red. And they'll go, what is that? And they'll, oh, you'll like it. Back in the 2020s, sometime like 2022, these guys, they kind of do a little, like Fred Rogers used to do. Oh yeah, Fred. Yeah, we've met him. And so then they'll watch this and it'll be entertaining for them. And they'll learn, because Anson and I are both street preachers. So they'll see early, because we're early to the game, the street preacher game, the Jesus revolution, the Jesus movement that's coming. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. But I could not foresee this happening. It's true. And let's see.
Keep going. If I look,
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I see some more.
Keep going. If I look hard enough and believe you are the one, your love will grow in me until you, Jesus, come.
Yep. And then it returns to the start of the song again. So I love that. All right, let's go back to the script. And are you okay to continue on, Anson?
Yeah. I'll be reviewing the rest of those. I want to see the sun coming in from the sky, and red is so right. Red as blood Jesus shed. I'll be reviewing all that privately, because
I left that out. It's kind of scat. They do scat on the end. It basically scats like throwing things against the wall as the music plays. And I hadn't practiced that part well enough to stick with the music, so I just kind of skipped it. But it does have some good stuff on there. You're right. And so
you can scat private, you can scat in public. This is somewhat of a public presentation, whatever episode, but it's also going to become very private for me, as I'm wondering, why did you choose me, Lord? Well, go back to the cell. Go back to the
I was so happy he did choose you, because he flooded my mind with memories of Anson and Jesus, the Jesus connections, and that's what he was showing me. Okay, so let's see. Painted Red, the song's parable. Okay. I see my black soul, parts of my soul sins, and I want to paint it red. And I want to paint all my friends and enemies the same color. And so, of course, I'm using the parable of red, like a red spray can. So it's kind of a, very rough thing. Like, oh, hey, Greg, what color is that friend? He's kind of whitish, whitish, reddish. I think I need to paint him red. And that would mean, in my mind, to say, think of him as Jesus, and see Jesus in him. So what we're speaking of, now let me take it back to how you build your world. This is kind of technical, because what we're talking about is how to colonize the events in your life. Jesus has, for instance, changed carrot forever. He's made now a metaphorically red carrot. No, my carrot's still orange. So I'm using this parable understanding. So he's painted my carrot red. So what do you think that means? Red carrot, red marketplace, red mouth, red songs, red Facebook posts, red talk, red thoughts, red bed. My bed is painted red. Red depression. When I have depression, it has a color. Okay. He wants it to have a color. Oh, your depression, Greg, is black. Well, that's normal, Jesus. Depression is black. Paint it red. Red suffering, red employment. So sometimes when people go to employment, what color is it? And in the world, they don't paint it red. If Jesus is the red, they don't paint it with a lot of his blood. Red coffee cup, red coffee. Jesus is my coffee. Red car. Now I have a red car that is black. You're like, what? I have a black car that is red. Okay. Jesus gave it to me. It's called the Jesus car. So in my mind, I know what that color is. It's red because it's from Jesus. So let's see, red sex, red church attendance, red horseshoe mountain, red cult culture, red world. So I'm going to paint my whole world, my Jesus world, red, which is a metaphorical way to say everything in Greg's world is going to be painted red, like Jesus red. Okay, so you have heard of baby blue. Have you heard of Jesus red? It's a special color. It looks just like his blood, but we're using a parable. So for those who don't have a great imagination, well, you've already checked out. For those of us who've been exercising our imagination, you get it. You go, okay, I see that if there's anything in my life, I need to go, and if it's not painted red, if it doesn't have a Jesus theme, I need to make a connection. You're saying it needs to have a patina. So if I'm listening to a song, a classic rock song, paint it red. Why wouldn't you paint it red? Well, because it says black. Well, paint it red. And so that's what Jesus has been showing me how to do. Paint songs red. And he baptized them. So guess what they were baptized in? Red. No, it was water. Right. Red water, his blood. And that's called Jesus enrichment. So I have elaborated sufficiently enough for those who desire. They get it, Greg. I get it. That you want to paint Anson red. And then here's where we're at here. In particular, here we go. Already did that. Where's that at? Okay. Oh yeah, so I'm talking about how to colonize colorize. Colonize is the right word too. So I'm colorizing my world, okay? And the color is Jesus color. I'm using red as a parable. And guess what the children of Israel did? Here's the thing. Let's go back to that scripture. What were they painting on the posts? The posts of their doors and the whatever they call that, the header. They were painting Jesus. Okay, but you go, no, it's just red blood. It's a lamb blood, right? But that is a parable, and they hopefully understood that, and that they're Jews, so they probably won't until later. But we understand it. What they were painting is Jesus. Jesus lives here. This is a Jesus house. When the destroying angel would come, he'd go, that's protected. So he would not destroy the first born in that house. And so that's our protection. So when I want to paint my whole world red, it's a protective color, and it protects me from the darkness. And so I will leave it there as I move on to the next part of this. I wanted you to understand the concept. And now I'm going to connect that concept to Anson in particular, that being right there that's got paper in his mouth. All right. You headed for the bathroom, Anson?
No, I'm going to go over by the computer now.
Okay. Because that would be, I'd have to say, this is getting R-rated because he's sitting on the toilet. As long as he sat there and we didn't see anything, I think would be okay. But that'd be in Jesus. Yeah, Jesus hasn't told me to sit on the toilet and use the toilet yet during Jesus TV. That would be, he'd have to send an angel. I'd be like, I don't think that seems appropriate. But he's like, no, you got to do it. There's somebody out there that needs to know that's a natural thing. Like, okay, whatever. Okay, here we go. But he hasn't asked me to do that. I haven't had to kill anybody that I know of, so we're good. Okay, so now we go back to the backstory. So you already heard kind of the backstory of how this episode came about. Paint Anson Red. Okay, here's some more backstory. I had been waiting on the Lord. That's what I told you. I'd already connected these songs to different things, you know, carrot, etc. Scenes in my life. And in episode 5, I described that already too, didn't I, Jesus? Yeah. That I had connected a song to a marketplace and to a specific place on my property. And it left me wondering, Jesus, when are we going to connect with people? And I started going through songs and thinking about people. And then pow, Anson. And I'm like, Anson before my wife? Yep. I'm like, okay. And so he probably wants me to do Sabra's better than yours. So you're the prototype. And guess what happened? A song came out. And this is what was important, how Jesus is doing this. You become connected with the song. Okay, so anytime I hear that song, who do I think of? Literally Anson Everett, because he's my friend. Jesus brought into my life. And so, but that's not all, because he's going to make other connections. So I'll tell you about those connections. And I'll actually show you some of them because he had me take notes. In particular, when I listen to this song, because the song is called I Am Jesus Street Preaching Now. That's another baptized Jesus Redeemed song. This one was by Tom Petty, which was formerly understood as American Girl. Well, she was an American girl raised on promises. All right. Well, that song got baptized. And Anson, can you sing that for us? Because I liked how you sang it, because now it's time to hear some more songs. Sing that song for us, if you would.
Sure. Let's see. Wait a minute. It starts out, well, I'm Jesus Street preaching now, raised on promises. So I can't help but thinking that there's a whole lot more to life waiting somewhere else. After all, it's a great big world with lots of places to run to. So if I have to die trying, I have one little promise that I am going to keep. Oh, yeah. All right. It ain't easy, Jesus. Yeah, but that's all right. Because I am Jesus Street preaching now.
Well, it gets kind of cold on the street.
I drive his van and people stare at me. I can hear the thoughts that they think. Honk, I love Jesus. Whoa, is he a freak? Like waves crashing on the beach. Dun, dun. His glorious peace, his glorious love, it surpasseth all things. Lifts me up when I take a stand. Gives me free trips to Jesus' land. Oh, yeah. All right. It ain't easy, Jesus, but that's all right. Because I am Jesus Street preaching now.
Woo! And I like that. And that's what came to my mind. So Anson had sung this song for me the previous week, or I was watching one of his episodes on Jesus TV. Oh yeah, that's what I was doing. I was watching that, and he was singing that song, and I noticed that Jesus had changed some of the lyrics for him. So in my Jesus world, the first verse is the same. The second verse goes like this. Well, it gets kind of cold in the street. I stand alone, people look at me. Yeah, I can hear the cars roll by. sound like freak, 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 like waves crashing on the beach. And in that desperate moment there, Jesus comes to rescue me. God, it's so wonderful when your love feels so close. Lift me up each time I preach. Oh yeah, all right. Yeah, so what I loved about it is that Jesus was doing a mod. And it's like, yeah, that's because that's what he told me he would do. He'd say, so what I'm doing with you, Greg, people, I will have them do it differently because they'll have their own story. So Anson has this cool van, the Jesus van, and it's got writing on it. So his second verse totally lines up, and I love it. And I love hearing that. And so that's what came into my mind when Jesus said Anson and that song. So that song, because I'm going to do a lot of street preaching for the rest of my life, and I'll be singing that song. And guess who I'll be thinking of? Jesus, yes, but he comes in flavors. So here's the thing: Jesus comes in flavors, and there's a flavor called Anson Everett, and there's no other flavor like it. Here's the thing: Jesus has this flavor machine, and it's called Mama and Daddy, and they come together, and a little swimmer comes in, and there's this little egg, and it comes in there, and it turns into a flavor. And this is what came out, because that guy over there that I'm seeing right here, he is a combo of Daddy and Mommy and Jesus, and he comes out as a flavor. And so let's see, Jesus said, go back to the script. You're doing great. You're doing great, or great, Greg. Okay.
8 billion flavors right now we've got on the earth.
Yes, 8 billion flavors, and you get to taste different ones. Can I lick, Anson? Like, that's kind of, you're kind of pushing the metaphors there, but it's kind of like that because it's sight, taste, and our taste is something, like I say, orange smell. And so sometimes when we use these parables, it like hurts us because we're like, my mind's not used to that. When you say lick Anson, I mean it metaphorically. Have I ever licked you, Anson, like literally? No, I haven't. And
Not yet.
I might do it just for fun, but that would only just be, I wouldn't be always licking Anson. Like, what do you really taste like? But I could see licking his cheek or something, and he probably wouldn't smack me.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of Anson's?
That's right.
Red heart, black heart.
I might lick him and say, that wasn't as tasty as what I thought. So I think I'll just look at you now. But you understanders of the new parables. So these are new parables. Most people have heard the parables of the Bible. Well, Jesus is rolling out some new parables. And this is the parable of the spray can, the red spray can. You can call it what you want. But this episode, let's go back to the Jesus using my metaphorical hands upon a metaphorical red can of paint. Right this moment, I'm going to spray Anson a visible red, to have Anson become for me a likeness and reminder of my invisible best friend. So this is where somebody objects. You don't like who I am? You have to spray me red? Yeah, I'm sorry, I do. I have to look at you and think of Jesus, because I made this covenant, and it's like, it's when I was drinking his blood. This sounds pretty bad. I'm not sure that you can say you should be drinking Jesus's blood. Do you belong to a satanic cult? No, I belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And if you're a Southern Baptist, like I said, a satanic cult. But if you're not a Southern Baptist convention, then you'd say, oh, okay, so it's at church, right? Yeah, so when I took the sacrament, the Holy Sacrament, I promised to always remember Jesus. Well, sometimes I don't always remember him. And Jesus says, I'm going to give you some ideas about how you can always remember me. And then he gave me a spray can and said, okay, so here's what you do. Anytime you see a person, you need to take that spray can and paint it a color. Now, this is where it starts tying into Anson Everett's street preaching, okay? And because I've been learning things. Jesus and Anson Everett have been doing street preaching, and I think I was one of the first ones on the whole earth to do this style of just Jesus street preaching. But when Anson got on, I start watching his street preaching and I'm learning stuff. And it's because Anson was learning how to paint everything red. He didn't know that, but I remember he was in his basement and he said, this is a Jesus trowel or something like this. This is a Jesus. Do you remember that episode? I mean, he does this. Tell him about those episodes that Jesus have you do. You can remember what Jesus was having you do. It was like everything, a Jesus guitar, a Jesus hat. I think there was a Jesus hat in there. You were
wasn't it more like I was trying to come to grips with Jesus is in and through all things.
Yes.
I thought that might have been it. Which of course starts tying in with this whole Jesus tagging that you and I have talked about, and others, and paint and everything red. What do you mean? Well, in my Jesus Anson world, there's going to be extensive converting going on, or there's going to be a lot of work done to figure out how does that printer connect to Jesus, that Epson printer.
Yeah, he knows it does. Yeah, you know it does, but it's a mystery, right? And that's so. Let me pause here, and I'll give you the talking stick back. But Jesus first called this stuff less parable. He said, "You're going to make Jesus connections." So you can say, "Oh, well, this whole episode should have just been Jesus connections." But Jesus does layers. He goes, "You know what Jesus connections is also like? Geotagging and meta tagging. Oh, it's like tagging. It's like tagging a building or tagging a train that like the gangbangers do. It's putting a mark on there. Oh, you like marks." He goes, "I like marks. I like tokens. I like signs. These are things that help my children remember me." He likes altars. So when I was doing this episode, I said, "Oh, so you're like turning Anson into an altar? You want me to worship Anson?" He goes, "You never worship the altar. That's where people always go bad. They start worshiping a prophet instead of worshiping God and we thank thee, O God, for a prophet." We don't start saying, "We thank thee, O prophet, for everything." Oh yeah, the prophet's everything. No, that's wrong. You get messed up. But he does have things like a printer to remind us of Jesus. And then what Anson's saying, like, that's a language I don't know. Can you teach me, Jesus, how that you're like a printer? And then he makes Anson in kindergarten start thinking about it, like, oh, okay, how could it be? And then Jesus will answer the questions. But Anson was doing a street preaching thing. And so that morning, I was just saying, oh, it's a perfect song to connect to Anson, because I could see Anson striving to make these connections like he's in kindergarten, and Jesus had just said, "Everything you see in this room is me, Anson." And Anson's just like, "Oh, okay, so you're in the desk, yes, and you're over here too." Then he started telling the whole class, Jesus is a chair. Jesus, and this is how he did his episode. This is that guy you're looking at. That's how he did it. It was childlike. And guess what my mind did? It liked it, because I'm like, that's what Jesus is doing. He's trying to teach me this thing. And so if this episode's kind of a struggle for you, they're talking about spray cans. Believe me, Anson and I are struggling too. Like, what is this all about, Jesus? And so he's made many different episodes to help us understand, like, Jesus uses mashup language. So if you think, "Oh, Jesus, can you just talk in English and nothing else?" He'd say, I talk in earthquakes. I talk in printers. I talk in spray cans. I talk by having other people come up and tell you stuff. You're like, you're using everything. You're using animals. You're using sunsets. How am I supposed to follow all this? He's like, get used to difference. This is how I talk. And so, because Anson and I are fully trying to #hear him, but what he's doing is like, you're going to have to get used to a different kind of language. And then he has us start using that language. Get that spray can. Like, well, are we going to create a sunset? Kind of like that. You're going to see a beautiful sunset that looks like Anson. And I spray Anson. I'm like, you know what this is like, Jesus? He says, is it kind of like those songs that I painted red? I'm like, yes, you made them Jesus themed. So when I look at Anson, I'm looking, hey, how is Anson like Jesus? And like, he's in a Speedo. I don't remember that in the Bible. Yeah, but what's he saying? Listen carefully. He's saying that Jesus loves our bodies. Oh, so he's an old man. He's kind of looking like an old man. He's hairy on one side and hair on the other. But you know what? I see he's trying. And then Jesus says, who does he look like? Jesus, he looks like me. And he goes, and what's that sound you hear? It sounds like waves crashing on the beach. No, but what are those waves saying? Freak, freak, freak. Oh, yeah, freak, freak, freak. Who's saying that? Oh, other people who are watching these television shows. And so I'm like, oh, yeah. So when I look at Anson, I've already painted you red, my friend. I painted your Speedo red. In my mind, I'd accepted who you are. I'm like, Jesus is birthing this guy. So he's coming out of the vagina pathway, metaphorically. What color is he? He's red, because he comes out that, and it's kind of a red pathway. And that means it's a Jesus pathway, because what's all around you when you come out of the birth canal? Blood all over. I mean, you got veins all over that beautiful womb that you just wanted to stay in. I don't want to come out because this life's going to be so freaking hard. But there's Anson, and people say, I don't understand what he's doing. Well, Anson doesn't fully understand, but fundamentally, I've been trained like he's reaching out. He's trying to get Jesus. At the same time, he's Anson flavored, and Jesus is trying to perfect that flavor. Say there, oh yeah, oh that's more like Jesus. That's more like Jesus. And so we don't know how this all turns out, Anson Red, but we know, and this song acknowledges, we know that we're going to be like freaks to people. But here's the thing: we're a special kind of freak. And if we have to be a freak, paint us red in your head. Like, you could paint us black, but I'd rather, if you have to tar and feather us, do you have any red tar and red feathers? Because we'd rather have those. And so, Anson, let me continue on, because I had certain things I wanted to honor Anson Jesus with. Okay, so you are to be painted red. I'm to see you so that you become a reminder of my invisible best friend, so that in my Jesus Greg world, maybe not in everyone's world, Anson shows up in his van. So he has a Jesus van that has a big heart, and I love Jesus there. At some future date, when Jesus and I are visiting my Tom Petty themed mansion, and Jesus says, Greg, remember when I showed up in my Jesus van and dumped off those 2 old pianos for you? And I turn to Jesus and I say, Lord, when saw I thee a Jesus street preacher with 2 pianos? And Jesus will say unto me, inasmuch as I did it unto you with Anson, so that was me. I'm having a hard time mashing that scripture up, but in other words, that's how Jesus rolls, is that, so Anson actually, Jesus said, bring Greg two pianos and go tune them, and then give him. So here's the thing, Anson, you're getting more than red paint tagged, okay? And you're getting more than being tagged with this street preaching song, which is song number 49. Let me make sure of this. Nope. It is 49. I am Jesus street preaching now. Okay, when Anson, Jesus's friend Anson, came with the pianos, do you know what he did? He brought oranges. I told you, oranges are the smell of Jesus. And they were delicious oranges that Anson gave me freely, and I ate them with joy. And I was glad my family didn't eat very many. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have these. They were out there for my family. I was gobbling up. They were very tasty. They were rough oranges. And I'll always remember that, because they were like second grade, not top notch looking oranges. But so like, that's like Anson, isn't it? Like, yeah. And like you, Greg, right. So if these were preacher oranges, yeah, they're, most people would bypass them like, no, I want a Costco orange. But here's the cool thing. They had seeds in them, but they were tasty. They tasted good. So I licked them and like, that tastes good. And and you remember what also you brought? Another food. What was that? You're associated with two foods now, my friend.
Oh, it wasn't pine nuts. But
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah,
it?
you're now. Anytime I see pine nuts, guess what I'm going to do? Guess who I'm going to think of? I'm going to think of Anson Everett and pine nuts. So you're now associated. I'm painting you with pine nuts. So I'm painting you red. I'm throwing pine nuts on you before the paint dries, and I'm going to put oranges where your eyes are or something. Yeah, but no, I'm just kidding about that. But anytime, so here's about tagging. Once I make this connection, anytime Jesus wants me to think about Anson Everett, because who knows what Jesus will have? He could have us go away, Anson get mad. But anytime that I see oranges, I'm at the store. Who am I going to think of? And guess what I'll probably do? I'll pick up the phone. Who you calling? My wife will know who I'm calling. Are you calling the orange guy? Yeah. Oh, Greg saw pine nuts. What are you doing, Greg? I know who you're calling. And you'd know. I'm calling Jesus, the Anson flavored Jesus. Or I'm going to turn to the Jesus street preaching. So Jesus now has a language. He can talk with me. If he says, I want Greg to think of Anson Everett, how can I do that? All he has to do is have the neighbors come over and they bring some oranges. My visiting teachers come over and say, we brought you some oranges. And that'll immediately trigger not just Anson, but a song. I am Jesus Street. They'll start seeing me do a dance. Who knows what this will connect with? So Anson then becomes this magnet that right now we've got pine nuts, we got oranges, but we've got a song. And so here's how it plays out. So when I lay in bed, and if I'm sad, he might just go, give me a vision of an orange. And as soon as he does that, it's as good as showing me Anson. Remember what Anson said. Oh, yeah, on Jesus TV, I'm everywhere. Oh, and then he'll connect, because Anson's not, well, actually, Anson now is connected with an episode. What are you supposed to do? Paint it red. Or if I'm having problems with people at work, he'll say, what do you need to do, Greg? Give me the can, Jesus. So then he'll pull out of his pocket another red can. He'll say, go to work and spray this person red, because they're black right now to you. You're black heart. And so then that's Anson now becomes this metaphor for tagging in the right color. See, so this episode, Anson, you don't know how important this episode is, because this is, like I said, they'll be watching it in Zion. They're like, of course, they'll make a better version, and our version will just kind of get kicked down the can, but the low shall be exalted. So I hope he does. I hope he kicks it way down, so that then 500 years from now, they'll go like, oh, you don't want that fancy version. You want this version where Greg talks too much. Yeah. So,
the bootlegged version, yeah.
Yeah. So you see how that works, Anson, right? And partly Jesus wanted me to involve you so that you would know how, because I'm supposed to help Anson build out his world, because I know technical stuff. But what I just shared is very technical. It's called making Jesus connections. And when you make them to people, it's going to be so fun, because I will in, I don't know, 5 years, I'll have 100 people, probably sooner. No, I think it about take me about a year to get all these 115 people. And it's going to be fun, because I'll think, oh, what song does my dad get? Alan Muller. What song does my mom get? Each one of my kids get a song, a Jesus song connected to them. So when I see that child, what song do I want to sing with them? You know I do. So Anson, when he sees me, he's like, Greg is always going to want to sing this Jesus, because that's your song, my friend. You know?
And mine will be different people. And I will very likely use whatever I can get my hands on of those 115. I only have 40 50 right now in my phone.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure you can get those.
Print
Yeah,
it out, but I'll use as many as I can get my hands on, and I'll connect them. Jesus and I and the angels together. I guess we get to decide, don't we? He lets me help decide.
yeah.
It's partly it's true. Me, I get it'll be interesting to see who I connect mine to. You know, maybe we'll connect one to President Nelson. I'm pretty sure there's one in there that connects to that's going to be connected to President Nelson and other general authorities that I've struggled to love, like or see with his eyes. You know, he's gonna. That'll be fun. I can't wait to see what gets connected to Mr. Brother Dallin H. Oaks. Excuse me, whatever. I didn't use the right pronoun. Elder Dallin H. Oaks. But like people are important. So are animals.
Yeah, well, they're the really in this enterprise. They become then the magnet that'll hold this all together. Hey there, brother. There's Anson's daddy. Yeah, there you go. People are important indeed.
Yeah, I'll be gone for a couple of days.
Right now?
Yeah, leaving.
Okay, we'll keep in touch.
I will.
Love you.
Okay. Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you. Nice that you could come on Jesus TV.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me.
Absolutely.
Okay, see ya.
There we go. I'm just going to open up the blind so I get a little more of that Jesus light coming in. Yeah, so that's this episode. It kicks off what's going to happen this next year. You start with a song that's important to you, and you connect it to the people. This is what I do, anyways. You could start out with people and connect it to other things, but it helps me manage this. And so I was going to show you real quick the screen that Jesus has me start working on. You'll see that Jesus had me make this. It's like a spreadsheet. It's not a spreadsheet, it's just a list. Share my screen. Okay. Jesus says, share your screen and show Anson and others how this is being done. Right here. And okay. Which one is it? Oh yeah. So I'm going to make this a little bigger so you can see it a little bigger, better. No, wrong thing. Over here. Yep. Thank you, Jesus. All right. I don't know if you can see this very well, but it says Jesus song plus people tagging. So, so the fourth song is connected to Norm Wood. You were the first, but then after I got this one, then Jesus starts telling me who's connected. And so the fourth song is, let's see, the baptized version of November Rain by Guns N' Roses, which is called Jesus Christ Now Reign. And he put some mud on my eye. And it's very appropriate for this friend who passed away a few years back of cancer, but he was my mentor for 12 years. And that song has embedded in it things that Jesus wants me to remember. And one of those things is the Jesus highways. My friend Norm Wood called those the three highways. So he was kind of a guru, like a Stephen Covey person, but not a successful one, not a worldly successful, but he was successful in Christ. And so Jesus is having me take that endowment of my friend and map out what's called the Jesus highways, three highways: truth, trust, and commitment. And it'll help people as they build their world to find their way through emotional difficulties and so forth, and understanding their world. So that's the thing. So you can connect the person to a song, which is the thing, of course, but also to other things. And so we'll soon see what Anson is connected to, a place. So when I go visit, see, I'll be able to visit you, Anson, in my world, okay? Because my world is up here. So I can actually travel to your place, but I would have to have a brain to talk to you and so forth if I was right there in your room. But I can talk to you even while you're not present. Like if I hung up, I could still imagine you and we could have a conversation. And so, so Jesus says you need to identify a place that's associated with this person. Where will you meet them? When you, because this is memory palace technology, and where I will meet my friend Norm Wood is up in the Nepal mountains. You've heard of Everest, at a specific place called Base Camp. It's up there. I think it's like 13,000 feet.
Wow.
And I've never been there, but I have in my mind many times, because he used that metaphor of climbing. That's how he used the highways, so that people who were stuck in low ways, they could get unstuck, because that's what he was. Because of his weakness, he had to build these systems so he could get unstuck in his relationships and so forth. So he built these systems, and they're from God, and I haven't built them yet fully into my world, but I spent 12 years studying them, so I know what they are. And when Jesus wants me to build those and then do videos and so forth on them, I will. And Norm will come, and he's an angel, and he'll come and be part of those episodes. And so connecting those to a place, a person, place, and thing. And so when I'm like in my bed or driving somewhere, say, I'm going to go visit Norm, then I visit him. People have heard, like, go to your special place. It's kind of like that, to have a place. You'll soon see what your place is, that I'm associating you with, Anson, because you're coming up next. But also then there's key memories, because Jesus wants me, like Moroni 10 says, to remember how merciful the Lord has been, because I'm painting everything red. So even my memories, I want to remember how merciful the Lord. When I met my friend Norm Wood, it says Potter Shop. So I was here in Spring City when the connection was made, and it was made through Theodore M. Tuttle's son, Dave Tuttle, who then later led me to Norm Wood, my Jesus mentor, for this particular thing that Jesus wants me to do. It was preparatory to world building that Jesus wanted me to do. So another one was the Tuttle Basement Workshop. So that's when I actually first met Norm Wood. He was doing a workshop. Like I say, he was an unsuccessful guru like Covey, but he had something beautiful that the Lord had to share with the world, but it wasn't time, and it was just for him for now. Kind of like these songs. You and I have access to 115 baptized classic rock songs, and most of the world doesn't have those. Jesus just, they're for our use right now until Jesus decides to spread them. That's his business. So I have these memories. Okay, so these are each song. So that's song 4 is taken. Song 0, I need to stick right there above 1, and that's already associated, like I say. But your song is all the way down here to number 49. The person is Anson Everett. The song is I'm a Jesus Street Preacher. And the thing, and there's going to be more than one thing, because I just said oranges. I'm going to type that in right now. So you are pianos, you are oranges, and pine nuts. All right. And that's enough. Those three, how are you associated? Because a lot of people don't know maybe your background. I'm gonna go turn the light on. You tell them about how you're associated with pianos. Jesus pianos, yes. And
Yeah.
And he talks about them as Jesus pianos, people. So go ahead, tell them.
Well, sure. When I started working on pianos, I didn't really know whose they were, but after, I don't know, 5 years or so as a piano technician in training, it wasn't 5 years. It was more like first day. Let's be honest. It wasn't long in me becoming when I decided I wanted to be a piano technician. It was about the second time I went into someone's home to see their piano that I said, "Oh Lord."
To play a specific song, you'll need to sign up for Amazon Music Unlimited on this Echo. It's free for 30 days and then $4.99 a month until you cancel.
Yeah, you.
No clue how you even turn that off. Maybe I'm. No, but I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have. I paid for a home study course and went through that. It was a couple $1,000s, and went to some trainings and things like that. But when there's thousands and thousands of different makes of pianos on this planet, and they're all a little different. So it wouldn't matter if I'd have had an earthly mentor. When I got to the pianos, wow. Or the second piano in someone's home. I was convinced. Something told me kneel down and pray and ask for help because you've never seen a piano like this. And I'd only seen maybe, I don't know, I've probably seen 20, 30, 50 different kinds. But Jesus was my mentor. He is my mentor. He is also my master. He's the master piano technician. And I have prayed and I will continue to pray every time I go to a piano. I hope I won't forget to pray for help when I see these because it's like cars. There's just so many different makes and models, but they're all his, and he knows everything about them. And so I'm into maybe between 4,000 and 5,000 pianos after about 20 years. And there's still every month or sometimes every week, there's another piano and another thing that I've never seen. And I'm not sure exactly how I deal with that design there. Why did they even do that, Lord? And he's like, just don't ask questions. Just ask. I ask him, can you help me get it apart? Sometimes he says, call your friend in Ogden. And that's how we figure it out. But yeah, every piano in the world is Jesus's. And at some point, I think every human's going to have access to one of his pianos so they can play and learn and sing and enjoy the beauty of that musical instrument.
Well, and so let me tell you then, like, because Anson has street preached. You have street preached about this, and it touched my heart in the way that's why you were the best fit for this episode. This is I didn't realize it until I was saying, well, I'm like, this is a dang important episode, at least in my life, because it's the parable of painting everything red. Well, Anson, I associate with that. With your preaching, I mean, I probably said it too. Jesus is in all things, through all things. But sometimes you have to hear your own words coming out of somebody else's mouth to be more deeply convicted. And so when you were doing episodes where you're going around your room down in the basement saying, this is Jesus this, Jesus that, but then combine that with your testimony that you just shared right now, and your reliance, you have to rely on the Lord, like Nephi, not knowing beforehand the things which I should do because I haven't seen this piano before. Traveling that way touches my heart because, like, I know about having to do complex things, and like when I became a handyman for Jesus, I haven't really laid tile. I've lighted it, but I'm lousy at it. Please help me, Lord. And of course, He helps me by giving me a client who's tolerant. They're not expecting, so sometimes He hooks you up with the right person, but I have to pray myself all the way through these different jobs of things I don't know how to do. And but it makes sense. My patriarchal blessing says that I'll have to continually receive help from God. And that's what the pianos are for you. You're doing a technician's job, and then every time. But you know what? It would be the same thing with an artist. I've talked to artists who have been successful, and they've done art for years and years. And this was Ken Baxter, local artist, and he's friends with another local artist, Randall Lake, who's very good. And I said, Ken, my wife feels like when she's doing a painting, it's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. And he said, Greg, let me tell you something. Randall and I have talked about how the fact that every time we do a painting, it's like all our skills just went out the window. We don't know what we're going to do. I mean, they have the skills, but they're approaching some new thing they're doing, and they just don't know. But they say they just start moving forward, and then lo and behold, something pops out, and it's that surprise that probably engages them in the work itself. They're like, whoa. If it was easy, it might not attract them. I don't know. But I am saying that you're associated with pianos, but Jesus wanted to nail that inside my soul. And so what did Anson do a few weeks ago? He called me, said, hey, I'm coming down to see you. You want some Jesus pianos, 2 Jesus pianos? And Jesus said, yes, you do. And I'm like, oh, I do? Okay. And so he brought 2 old pianos, and he has a lift on his Jesus thing. So he's able to go down, and we got to pull those in, and then he went to tuning them and so forth. So what Jesus was doing there was giving us an experience, and that's how Jesus gets us. Ultimately, you're not going to be converted by his word. The truth is, you're not going to be converted generally by God's word. You're going to be converted in a deep way by his word plus an experience. That's how he nails things down. So it's a more sure way in which that it's called writing on your fleshy hearts. And he can write on your fleshy hearts with two big pianos. Like, what am I going to do with these pianos? And then I have to go to Jesus, say, I got two pianos, and I don't think they're as valuable as Anson says they are. People, I'm looking in here, people are giving away free pianos. Has Anson just dumped some pianos on me? And Jesus says, no, you need to learn how to play piano. Because remember, I told you have to learn how to play piano so that you can go out there and play. You'll put them on Facebook, but also remember how Anson, who is me, a lower version, he gave you those tools so you can learn how to tune them. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm gonna have to cry out to you. But you have a friend in the music business, don't you? Yeah, his name's Jesus, and he dressed up like Anson. And so I'll have some mentorship there. Go ahead, Anson.
No, I was just
Okay, I thought you were raising your hand.
concerned about like, what did we do to our poor Greggy, Lord?
No, that's right. And as far as I know, Jesus will have those sold by this week. I don't know, because even though I say, hey, this is what Jesus is doing, that can change from day to day. And sometimes I can hear him say, we're going to do this. And I go like, oh, you're like Michael Jordan. You did head fake. You said you were going to go this way, but you went the other way. Yeah, that's how I got the basketball hoop on you. And that's how I got you to come closer to me. Oh, so you do that. Is that called lying? He says, no, it's a head fake. Because I moved my head this way. Oh, you gave me these pianos. I know what you want me to do. Do you, Greg? Do you? And so part of the reason he gave me those pianos, I can tell you right now, because I can feel it on my heart. He's writing this episode on my heart, which, of course, part of the story of this episode is Anson Everett and pianos. And so this is how he paints it red in a particular. So if he just simply had me spray paint you, that wouldn't be interesting. No, this is how you spray paint. This is the details. How do I spray somebody? You're looking at it right now. This is the spray can. You see number 49? You write down Anson Everett. Then what? Then how do I make the spray can work? I don't know. Maybe Jesus will say, get a song. So I am Jesus street preaching now. Now it has a parentheses, Anson Everett. And so people say, I notice your song has Anson Everett. What's that? Oh, all the songs have people. I mean, Jesus is doing that. And they say, what does that even mean? Oh, just change it to another name. What name should I put it? I don't know. Whoever Jesus tells you to associate with that song. Or maybe he'll say, you're not doing that. And so that's what that is. The place. Okay, let's get back to the place. So when I talk with my daddy, who's passed on, we're going to have a special place when we talk. Okay, in my mind, if I was like laying in bed, or if I was sitting here like, I need to talk to my dad, then I would create a place in my sacred imagination, and we're going to hang out. And it's going to be with my dad on the bike, because my dad's associated with bike. He was known in Powell, Wyoming as the bike guy, not a mountain bike guy like Anson Everett. Sorry, Anson, you don't get a bike. I know Anson likes bikes, but no, we're not. We're going to paint my dad with a bike. Very, very important. And he's given me bikes, just like you gave me pianos. Dad has given me bikes, good bikes that have blessed our lives. I need to get back on bike, don't I, Dad? So I will meet Dad. It could be a bike shop. I like bike shops. And it could be a local one or just one I make up in my mind. But then I'm going to say, hey, Dad, let's go to the bike shop. But I don't think Dad's going to be bike shop. I think he's going to be at the kitchen table, working over his notes, because that's how I remember him. And he would talk with me. So my dad, for the rest of my life, till I die, he'll say, when I go to heaven, he'll say, hey, that was nice to meet with you in your mind at the kitchen table. Because that's what I've met with him many times. And he was a professor, and he'd lay out his notes. But it's one of his favorite things to do, turn on the news, work on his notes, have some treats. and have the book open about how he's going to lose weight, but never lose weight because he's eating Ben and Jerry's and
Yes.
eating nuts because the guys tell him it's healthy. And so I teased him about that. I said, we're going to find you dead at the kitchen table with the best research on how to lose weight, but there'll be a pool of Ben and Jerry's on your face. And my dad had a sense of humor about it because he knew the irony that most people don't want to lose weight. They just want to study about how to lose weight. And so my dad taught me that, and it's true of me too. So where are you going to meet Anson then, Greg, or the imagination of Anson, his Jesus van? So you've already heard about the van. And if you go watch Anson's Jesus Street Preaching, you'll see the van, okay? Because Jesus let him have a van. And I do think I have a little envy in my heart. Like, I want a Jesus van too.
And you got van envy.
Yeah, van envy.
Van.
But I'll paint that envy red. That envy's black. I'm just going to take that spray can every time it pops up. Oh, it's black again. Well, get the can. You know what to do. Spray it red. Like, oh, no, we're cool. When you want to give me a van, you give me a van. But he has a Jesus van that's so cool because I like it. It's like a manger scene van. It's like well, I keep thinking of apothecary shop. If you ever been like in the Chinese, all these little compartments and so forth. He's got these things hanging, and then he pops out. He's got oranges. Hey, you want some of this? And he's got food in there. Reminds me of my dad. You know, in his drawers at the college, he'd pull out all this stuff. Like, I see why you like to go to your office, man. All these treats and stuff, and he'd treat the kids. So Anson, of course, lives in his van on occasion when Jesus wants him to live in the van. And so it's his home. And so do you see how when you build your world, you're not just building it like literally, like that guy you see right now, he's in Logan, Utah. Okay, that's kind of a literal place. I'm not just making this guy up, a deep fake. And he has a literal van. But as regards my world, most of the time, I don't need a literal Anson. I can watch his street preaching, you know, long after he's done it. That's what Jesus had me do. And when I want to talk with Anson or remember Anson, I know where I'm going. I'm going to the van, and I'll have Anson there, and I'll be able to talk with him. And what will we talk about? Well, that's where we come to the key memories, because we're not just going to talk about anything. We're going to talk about Jesus memories. Like, Greg, when you think of Anson, or Anson could say, when you think of me, what Jesus memories do you have? And I'd say, oh, Anson, I remember your street preaching. I remember you in your basement. Oh yeah, I remember that one. Oh, I remember fondly. You're out in like this park area, Green, and you're desperately thumbing through this big old hymn book that you created because Anson used the Jesus printer. That's what the Jesus printer is. It prints out Jesus songs.
That's the very printer right there. My dad was
right.
You're printing out that much stuff. I'm like,
and so going back to his van, guess what he showed me in his van? Well, it wasn't in his van, but now it is in my head. So he's sitting down there with me, and he's showing me how he takes crayons or pens and he writes things, Jesus things, and remember like how a song sung, or he'll say certain Jesus things, right? Isn't that right, Anson? Tell me how you use the book.
John Lennon on the Imagine song that he and Jesus did that got redeemed. I just said, hello, brother Lennon.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so he has conversations like I do with these angels. He recognizes that they are spirits and he can say hi. That's not forbidden. You humans are not to ever talk with John Lennon. He's too important. No, Jesus, like, yeah, go ahead. They're available. They can hear. Leave a voicemail for him. And so he did right there. Speedo. And so Anson and I know what that means. Jesus had him show up in a Speedo street preaching. And I knew what that was for. That's to get rid of people. It's like, oh, sorry, Anson, I can't be your friend. But mostly it's for Anson. I don't know. This is my guess that it's called burn the ship. It's like, no, you've crossed the Rubicon. There's no turning back, brother. You can't win people. That they think you're crazy. They think you've gone Jesus crazy, but that doesn't redeem it for them. There's some people who are just like, no, that Anson's a bad character. Well, I've already done that myself too. I mean, if somebody's watching this episode, like I say, there's people who watch the first part of this episode, they go, they're talking about Jesus in an unholy way. I just say, bye-bye, because this is how we do it in my world, and I don't do it perfect. So some of those people, if you said the Great Spirit, they'd say, oh, no, I can't talk about the Great Spirit. Other people are comfortable with that. That's called Article Faith 11. They say, oh, that guy you're calling the Great Spirit, I call him Jesus. And so the Speedo represents to me, when I see that episode, it represents Anson's birth, like I told you, coming out of the womb. It's provocative. I get that. I'm not beyond understanding. Speedos are provocative, especially on somebody who's not 20 years old. Like, oh, look at that. And you know what it looks like to my eyes? Mr. Rogers. Hey, look at Mr. Rogers came out in a Speedo. But that's in my imagination. Hey, kids, we can love our bodies. And that's what Anson talked about. And I could see Mr. Rogers, a twisted Mr. Rogers. I wasn't seeing Fred Rogers, but I saw the Anson flavored, and I'd like, no, his intent. So Jesus was helping me read his heart. You see how he's trying, Greg? I'm like, oh, I see, because I do the same thing. So what I actually saw was a mirror. You saw a mirror? Did you have a swimsuit on? Well, I did in one of my episodes. It was trunk shorts. It wasn't Speedo. Do you want me to put on a Speedo? Jesus says, no, you don't have to do that. But so I think of Speedo, then oranges and pine nuts, key memories, because that was your kindness. Because you also gave that homeless guy, who's my friend, whose name I won't say. Anyways, yeah, he gave him a bunch of food too, and it was tasty. Oh, the pine nuts, here, have a lot. And he was very generous. I'm like, wow, Jesus has possessed Anson. And that's what, of course, Jesus is trying to tell me. Greg, I possess people. And me too, I do. That's why you can have different flavors of Jesus, because I will get inside them and I will express myself if they yield to me. And so that's what Anson was doing. Like, oh, so Anson didn't really give me those oranges. No, he's a dirty, filthy, rotten. He'd say, like, I want to eat these oranges myself. But when he came to my place, he was full of a different spirit. He'd probably been singing Jesus songs on the way down. He may have been listening to Jesus radio, and he got possessed by a spirit that he hopes to be possessed of when he leaves this life, because that same spirit that has power to possess us in this life will have power to possess us in the next, according to Alma 34, I believe. So my people, my listeners, Jesus's listeners, I think we're almost there. Jesus TV, how to build my Jesus world, paint Anson Red. Oh, we did. We got to it. I feel so thankful because now it's in my head. No matter what happens with this episode. So one thing that Jesus has me do is he has me do this Jesus TV. And when you go on TV, like if you're Fred Rogers, it gives you a better chance of remembering something. Fred Rogers goes, I want to remember how bubble gum is made. So he goes, you know what I want to do is I want to do an episode on bubble gum. So he goes on and tells the kids about how bubble gum's made. Now the kids may forget, but Fred, he had to do a script. He had to talk about it. He talked about King Friday, saying, King Friday, should we put bubble gum under our desks? No, that would be wrong. And so he dramatizes bubble gum and, hey, let's go watch on this looky-see or whatever that is. And they watch how bubble gum's made. And he says things like, do you think when they were making that bubble gum that they were thinking of the people who are going to eat it? And so Fred remembers, and it goes into the Fred memory. And so then when Fred is not on television and he's just talking with people, they may be chewing gum. And you know what? It reminds him of something. It might be that he can have a conversation with that person. Oh, what kind of gum is that? Oh, that's good. Do you know where gum is made? And that person's like, wow, I'm talking with Fred Rogers and we just talked about gum. I wanted to talk to him about television and being a star, but it was fun. We just talked about bubblegum. So I might talk about pine nuts, um, and it's going to remind me of Anson. So the next thing I know, I'm singing a song to him. Well, here's the song. I am Jesus Street preaching now, talking to you about oranges and pine nuts. And they're like, what world am I in? And I know I can transport people using my voice, and it's kind of a form of hypnotism, but it's called dehypnotism. I'm waking you up to a new world where pine nuts are no longer just pine nuts. Red paint is no longer just red paint. A printer is not just a printer. What in the world? And some of them will receive it very well, I think, and others not, and that's fine. Okay, my friend, back to the talking stick. Any thoughts you have before we have our closing prayer song?
No, I'm happy to just kind of be along for the ride and have my name in Jesus Red.
Absolutely. Well, I'm thankful for it. So let's sing the prayer song. You know it. Let's see. I kept the ride. Oh, hey, let's do it back and forth so they can hear it. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'll do a line. You do a line. I kept the right ones out.
And let the wrong ones in.
Had an angel of mercy to see me through all of my sins.
There
was time in my life. You do that part.
There was
times in my life
times in my life
when I was going insane.
Trying to walk through
the pain.
When I lost my grip.
And I hit the floor.
Well, I thought I could leave,
but couldn't get out of the door.
I was so sick and tired
of living the lie.
I was wishing that I
would die.
And Jesus saved me.
In the blink of an eye, I finally saw God's light.
Da-dun, 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 da-dun.
Yeah, Jesus saved me.
When that moment arrived, I knew I'd be all right.
Yeah, Jesus saved me.
And I'm saying a prayer for the desperate hearts tonight.
That one last, hold it. That's the wrong line. Oh, I like that one though. I lost myself in rambling temptations.
How high can you fly? What?
With broken wings.
Was that the line?
Life's a journey, not a destination.
And I just can't tell just what tomorrow might bring.
You have to learn to crawl
before you learn to walk.
But I just couldn't listen to all that righteous talk.
I was out on the street,
just trying to survive,
trying to stay,
scratching to stay alive. You take it.
And then Jesus saved me.
Da-da-da-da.
When the moment right, in the blink of an eye, I finally saw God's light.
Yeah, Jesus saved me. When that moment arrived, I knew it'd be all right. Yeah, Jesus saved me. You take the last.
And I'm saying a prayer for the desperate hearts tonight.
I love it. Woo, two desperate hearts singing Jesus's version of Amazing, which is amazing. Jesus is amazing. And that song is actually, it retained the name. That was its Christian name. When it was born in Aerosmith, that song was properly named by Jesus. And so it, of course, got baptized. So it started getting painted red. That song had some more red that it needed. And and then it became proper for street preachers. So thank you for this joint episode, but also the joint closing prayer. And I want to thank Jesus for doing that connection. That it makes me happy, Anson. It's like for some reason I'm just so happy that He chose you in my Jesus world. Like, hey Jesus, are we going to do that song connection thing? And I went through the songs looking for it, and then Anson pops up, and it made me so delighted because of the flood of what it brought. I am Jesus street preaching now, and I watch you, and I'm like, oh, that reminds me of me, Jesus. And it's like two kindergartners up there doing a class project, So Anson, can you get up and now show them how to do street preaching? And I'd already had to do it. So it was Anson's turn, and Anson's like, I don't know what the episode is. I know I'm on Jesus TV. I'm like, oh, he's getting it all right. Because as a kindergarten, I don't care about what the number is either. And later, Jesus will have me assign the numbers, and because I want to have in my Jesus world, I want to have Anson's programs too. I want to certain ones I'm going to plug in. So you're going to steal those? Oh, absolutely. I'm going to take them and say, watch this. Because I'll train people. I'll say, now here's how you do a Speedo episode. Here's how you do a Jesus piano episode. And because Jesus is going to have me be one of the trainers. So I was helping Anson train, but soon Jesus just took over. He goes, Anson's got this. And so it's like I was teaching Anson, Mary Had a Little Lamb, and then Anson starts doing improv. I'm like, whoa, look at that. Jesus, he knows how to do it. I'm like, woo, it's like a bird getting launched. And what I saw is the future. See, because Anson and I, here's what I believe. We are going to be these old men in the Jesus movement, which is just rising now, the Jesus Revolution. See it, it's going to come in 2023. It's a movie starring the guy that played in Frasier. What's his name? What's the guy?
Kelsey Graham?
Yeah, Kelsey Grammer. He's starring in that. And the guy that plays Rumi, that plays Jesus in The Chosen. What's his name? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't know his name.
Yeah, but he plays those two star. And I saw the trailer for it, and I loved it because Jesus had told me when I got born again in 2015, he says, there's this Jesus movement. Do you remember the Jesus movement, Greg? I had to go look at Wikipedia. Yeah, so the late 60s, early 70s came a Jesus movement. He says that's coming again. So it's like in the secular world, and like in Babylon, there'll be this movement, and it's not Black Lives Matter. It's not the Occupy Wall Street. These different movements. It's not the Antifa, let's burn up cars and so forth. Hallelujah for those. He says it's the Jesus movement, and it's coming again. And he showed me these signs. Those that have eyes to see, and go see what Kanye West is doing. He's filled with that spirit. Now, is he doing it the right way? I don't know. I'm not the boss of Kanye West. So it's not how I would do it, but Kanye West wouldn't do what we're doing either. So I'm not here to condemn anybody. If you're talking about Jesus, then hallelujah. But the Jesus movement is rising. And here's what I believe, Anson. Yeah. It's going to be people like you and me, old men, who will be among young people who will do just what we're doing. They'll do it better, probably. They'll say, oh, I see what you're trying to do. And they'll go here's how you do it. And some of them will probably do a Speedo episode. They'll have a really built out body, and people say, oh, I like that one better. But there'll be people like you and I, yeah, I like that, but you know what? I like that Anson one. Yeah. And because it's it seems like more authentic. He's not trying to say worship this body. He's saying this is what Jesus told me to do. And so, but that's what I saw. I may have a twisted mind, but that's why Jesus chose me, because I'm broken, and that's why he chose Anson. And that's who he'll choose for his street preachers, is people who are crazy enough to do this out in the open. And he has callings for the ones who aren't so crazy. Well, what if I'm not as crazy as those guys? Well, then you get to stay in the back cave. You don't have to pull the Bat Cave out so everybody can come in the Bat Cave. You could be Bruce Wayne and just walk around, and you're Batman. You're building God's kingdom, but you don't have to show people your Bat Cave because you look like you're Bat-esque crazy. So that's what Anson and I look like, because Anson is a handyman, but he has a Bat Cave, and you're in it. I mean, that they're watching it. We're showing them the Bat Cave. This is a parable again. By the way,
Yeah.
Jesus gave me the Bat Cave because he said, Greg, some people are going to be like Bruce Wayne. They don't let anybody see the Bat Cave. They just show up as Bruce Wayne. And then people go, oh, I thought I saw Batman. Is that you? And so they do these things. The left hand doesn't know what the right does. They do Jesus stuff, but that's not what I'm called. That's not what Anson's called to. We're like Noah, and God says, Noah, get that ark out of the garage. What are you trying to hide for? Well, everybody else is hiding theirs. And he goes, yeah, but that's not what you're called to. I want you to get that Speedo on, because there's a lot of rain coming. You'll want to swim. And I want you to build that thing out there. Well, people think I'm crazy. They already do. So just get out there. And so you push it out there. And it just different people called the different things. So that's one of the things that this episode reminds me of. And when I watch you, Anson, on yours, I see the future, the future that Jesus told me about, that I would be joined with other street preachers. He would join us, he would connect us, and then it would go worldwide. We're going to see like what, and it already is for those that have eyes to see, but we're going to join. And at the Ratfink this summer, we're going to have a worldwide gathering of Jesus television. So we'll share ideas, but it'll be a street preaching event as well. And upcoming events include, you've heard of the Sundance Film Festival, and maybe you've heard of Slam Dance, 2 film festivals that are actually headquartered in Park City. But Jesus is introducing a new one. It's called Jesus Dance. Isn't that nice? Jesus Dance. And yep. And there's Anson right now showing you one of the Jesus dances. And so we're going to go to Park City and do street preaching and Jesus dancing, move our bodies, sing Jesus songs like Paint It Red and whatever Jesus tells us to do. And it may be a head fake. He'll say, no, we're going to do it the next year or whatever. But we're planning on it. We got 3 street preachers already signed up: Greg, Anson, and Aaron. Yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But that's the connection. Any final thoughts, my friend?
More Jesus.
Indeed. Get more Jesus. It tastes good, and it, sometimes it's like a cold shower.
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna go paint Anson red.
Yep. And I'm gonna go paint Greg's life red. Whatever Jesus, I don't know what I'm going to go do next, but probably watch The Chosen, something like that. It's Sunday, and I want to watch The Chosen again before I start watching the season 3. I love Jesus's movie. Thank you, Jesus, for that, and thank you for Jesus TV. Thanks for tuning in, you desperate hearts. Talk to you later. Now, just a minute, Anson. I'll show you how this works. Just a second. I'm going to turn off. Stop. No, stop sharing. Oh, yeah, they've been looking at this. Oh, sorry, guys. Here you go. Last shot. Well, sorry. In Jesus TV, sometimes we have technical difficulties. We don't even know what it is. So now they're seeing faces, but they were listening. That other part was, and then stop sharing. Okay, we're done. Stop sharing. Here's the part I'm looking for. So just hold on, Anson. I'll show you. Stop.